Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara. I make content about holistic self-love. And today we're going to talk about bodies, healthy habits, unhealthy habits, attraction, and all of those things that are so juicy. I've been inspired to make this video because of a clip that's been going viral, and I believe it's from Love is Blind, the US version, where there is a guy who says to this girl, man to a woman, that he is not attracted to her body because he's used to going out with women who do CrossFit and do Pilates every day. And this has been taken out of a reality show about dating and courting and marriage, etc. And it's gone viral, and it's really raising lots of questions about attraction and body image and healthy habits, unhealthy habits, etc. And also body shaming. So I wanted to talk about all of those topics. I'm not really making any specific reference to these people. I don't even know their names. I'm just using it as a springboard for a bigger discussion. I would like to say that, to have someone, I see two issues in that scene that has gone viral. Firstly, it's someone telling another person that they are not physically attracted to them. That's never an easy thing to say. I don't think I've ever said that to anyone. I think it's a really hard thing to say. And then second, it's kind of like a bit shaming about your habits, or you don't have the body type that I want because I prefer someone more sporty. And I think the guy just got himself into a bit of a pickle there with not really knowing how to say something in a tactful way. Maybe we just don't know how to say something like that in a tactful way. And also with a camera crew there, that's really hard. But anyway, it's really good that we're having this debate, and I think the general consensus is this is not the way to speak to someone. It's really not a good way to speak to someone, which is a good outcome. But I do feel sorry for the woman involved. I've had partners body shame me in the past, and it's not a nice feeling. Especially in my younger years. It's not happened later. I have so much more body confidence now as I age, which sounds ironic. But when I was a lot younger, I remember, obviously the first times that you are naked with someone can be very, you can feel very vulnerable. When that person makes a comment about your body, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to put my t-shirt on next time. It's really hard, especially if you adore that person as well. But also it really annoys me when, this is going to sound a bit weird maybe, but I do find in general, this is a massive generalization, so I do find it annoying when some men think they have the authority on deciding what female beauty is when they're not, oil paintings themselves. And I think women in general have been, objectified more for their beauty throughout history, and that's still the case today. So that really annoys me as well. So those are kind of some thoughts that came to my mind about this particular situation. But also I wanted to take another angle at this, just using that as a springboard. And personally, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to be with a partner who has healthy habits, especially if you're doing CrossFit and Pilates. You can't just have one rule for one person or one rule for one gender. And I think I think how someone looks after their body is important, and it's about compatibility really, and also healthy habits. Just the other day, I met a guy, and as soon as he found out what I did for a living, he was just like, woo, super interested and really, we had a nice conversation. He's a really good looking guy as well. He had these incredible eyes. I was just looking at his eyes, and then he pulls out his tobacco pouch and starts rolling a cigarette, and then he just had a beer in his hand, and I could just smell this alcohol and the tobacco, and I was like, there's no way. There's just no way that could be someone who's compatible with me. But if I said to him, I could never be with someone who's just, smoking and drinking all the time. This is in the middle of the week as well. It's not like a Friday night. It was, a school day. That for me, I don't think it would be such a bad thing to say. Because, how our bodies often are a reflection of our habits, eating habits, movement habits, sport, etc. And I think that's something that we cannot deny. And for me, I do consider myself to be quite healthy. I could have a bit more movement, a bit more gym in my life. But in general, also stamina. You want to be with someone who is not going to get too tired walking upstairs or things like that, because, yeah, I don't know. I just want to be with someone who is active, as active as I am, and has, who's eating healthily most of the time, or has an awareness of what's good for you, and some self-discipline as well. And it's not just going to like eat whatever you want and then just not move and watch TV. That kind of person would just not attract me at all. And I don't think it's a bad thing to say that. I think it's about having compatible habits in the end, at the end of the day. But also, I think it's really important. That's kind of when everyone's healthy and well. But also, I have another perspective on it that sometimes you can be doing all of the right habits, but sometimes your body can fail you, and that feeling is really not nice. You can feel very impotent, and I've had that feeling a couple of times when I went through Bell's palsy a few years ago, and also when I was sick in hospital with COVID and pneumonia. And I'm someone who really does take care of myself as well as I can. I could definitely move more, but in general, I do have quite healthy habits. And I remember when I was when I had Bell's palsy, I didn't even know what was wrong with me. It was a very scary thing when your face. I was half paralyzed, and then I was in the waiting room of the emergency room, and there was a guy who was homeless, who had all these cuts, and he's someone obviously who's very neglected himself through whatever life circumstances, poor decisions, whatever. But it was interesting how we've made very different decisions in life, but we've ended up in the same place. And that was a very humbling moment for me, because sometimes you can be doing all the right things and you can have a nasty surprise where, you realize that you don't have control over your body or your life or your well-being. And that's just so frustrating. And I think, if you're thinking about dating for marriage, you have to be with someone who is going to be there for you in your darkest hour and the times that you're going to need them, when to go to the hospital with you, to go to appointments with you, or things like that. It's not just for the trip to the gym and the CrossFit or whatever. So I wanted to share those reflections with you today, and I think it's important to have healthy lifestyle, and if there's nothing wrong with being attracted to people who do take care of themselves, and also I think sex is a physical act. So if you're not really taking care of yourself, how good can your sex life really be? If you're just kind of just not caring about your body, and how confident are you going to be when you're naked? I think it's really good to have, look after yourself as best you can without getting obsessed, but also realize that your body changes over time with aging, with menopause, postmenopause, all of that. But also you can have a surprise one day. Something can not be quite right, or you wake up and you're sick. So it's really important to have a partner who's with you at your best and your worst. Yeah, not just going to be judging you because you don't do Pilates or CrossFit, whatever. Anyway, that's a bit of a rant there. But I really wanted to share this because I do think I can see different perspectives and different talking points just from that one clip. What about you? What do you think about this topic? I would love to know and read you in the comments below. I think it's an important thing to discuss and to have more awareness of. Anyway, I'm going to leave some links in the description, links to my book, my podcast, my coaching, my Substack, and lots of other good things. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with some more videos. Mwah.